Most people think that their life is shaped by big decisions, such as a career change, a relationship, or the day that everything suddenly shifts. But that's not actually where your life is created. Your life is built in the quiet repetition of ordinary days. This is the habits you default to, the emotional tone you carry, and the small choices you make every day. And this is exactly what your sixth house in astrology reveals. It's not just how you work, but the identity you're reinforcing every single day without realizing it. In this video, we're going to explore how each sixth house zodiac sign reveals the patterns and belief systems you've normalized in your everyday life, what alignment actually feels like in your body, and how to consciously rebuild your daily reality so your routines support the life you actually want. So grab your birth chart, find the sign or signs where your sixth house sits, and let's dive in.
There's a version of you being shaped right now, not through big risk and not through dramatic leaps forward, but through the way you move through ordinary days. Your sixth house is not about productivity, it's about repetition. It reveals the internal pace you operate at, the emotional pressure you place on yourself, the standards you quietly reinforce every single day. With Aries here, the pattern isn't adjustment, it isn't hesitation, and it isn't overthinking. It's urgency. And urgency, when repeated long enough, becomes identity. Aries in the sixth house learns early that momentum creates safety. When something feels uncertain, you move faster. When something feels uncomfortable, you push through. When something feels unclear, you take action before doubt can settle in. This gives you a powerful edge in life. You become decisive, self-starting, independent. You don't wait for permission. You don't sit around hoping someone else will handle it. But daily life begins to revolve around acceleration. You respond quickly. You solve problems immediately. You push yourself to keep moving even when your body wants to pause. This energy rarely feels extreme. For you, it feels productive, efficient, capable. But over time, however, a pattern forms. Instead of asking, is this the right pace for me? Your nervous system asks, how quickly can I handle this? And when that question runs daily, the identity it builds is someone who is always in motion before they are fully present. You become known as the one who gets things done, the one who handles things immediately, the one who doesn't hesitate. But what's happening underneath is more complex. Every time you override your body's signals in favor of momentum, your system learns that pressure is normal. Aries in the sixth often carries an unconscious belief that slowing down creates vulnerability. If you keep moving, you stay ahead. If you hesitate, you risk losing ground. So your nervous system treats life like a series of problems to solve quickly. You act, you decide, you fix. You believe that capability means handling things on your own timeline. And in many ways, you are very good at that. But the deeper layer is you may equate stillness with stagnation, and stagnation with losing control. So instead of sitting with uncertainty, you move through it immediately. Instead of allowing frustration to teach you something, you override it. Instead of letting a process unfold naturally, you push it forward through sheer will. That subtle habit keeps you powerful, but constantly activated. You become so practiced at urgency that you forget how to rest inside your own life. So practiced at independence that you forget collaboration. So practiced at pushing through resistance that you stop listening to what that resistance might be trying to tell you. And when that runs daily, your future begins to reflect a life where you are admired for your strength, but rarely supported in your vulnerability. A balanced Aries in the sixth doesn't lose its drive. It simply learns how to direct it. There is a shift from reactive urgency to intentional momentum. When regulated, your day feels grounded inside your body. You still take initiative, but you're not racing your own life. You still act quickly, but your decisions come from clarity rather than pressure. Instead of asking, "How fast can I handle this?" you ask, "Where does my energy actually belong?" That reordering changes everything. Action becomes purposeful instead of compulsive. Progress becomes steady instead of exhausting. Your strength becomes sustainable rather than depleting. Your nervous system learns that leadership does not require constant acceleration. And when that belief integrates, your routines begin to reflect confidence rather than survival momentum. With Aries in the sixth, transformation happens through how you pace your energy, not by suppressing your fire. The first step to achieving this is to pause before acting on every problem. When something goes wrong, notice the immediate urge to fix it. Instead of reacting instantly, take a breath and ask, does this actually need my action right now? Not every issue requires immediate movement. Some require observation. Leadership grows in the pause. Next is to let one task each day move at a natural pace. Choose one responsibility, be it work, conversation, or project, and allow it to unfold without rushing. No forcing momentum and no pushing the timeline. You are teaching your nervous system that progress does not disappear when you slow down. Next is to ask for support before you hit the limit. Aries energy prides itself on self-reliance. Practice inviting collaboration earlier than you normally would. Share the responsibility. Delegate the next steps. Let someone else participate in the process. Your strength expands when it stops carrying everything alone. Next is to listen to the first signal of fatigue. Your body speaks quietly before it speaks loudly. Notice the first sign of tension, such as tight shoulders, shallow breathing, irritation, or restlessness. Instead of pushing past it, take it seriously. This is how you build endurance instead of burnout. And finally, choose one action each day that comes from desire, not obligation. This isn't something you should do, but something you want to do. Move your body because it feels good. Start a project because it excites you. Follow curiosity without attaching a result. This reconnects Aries with its original power, which is self-directed energy. When practiced consistently, these shifts recalibrate your internal pace. Your life stops being something you conquer through force and starts becoming something you lead through presence. A great affirmation for Aries in the 6th house is, I trust my power enough to move with intention. My strength is steady, my energy is directed, and my life unfolds at a pace that honors who I truly am. All right, your turn. Be sure to let me know what part called you out the most. Drop it in the comments. I want to hear about it. And of course, hit that like button, hype this video, send it to someone who needs it, and subscribe so the universe keeps sending you these vibes. And if you've been pretending you're fine while silently falling apart, my As Above, So Within digital journal is your turning point. This prompt journal helps you to face the real you, the one who's ready to rise. All of my links for my offerings are in the description box below, so be sure to check them out. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. There's a version of you being shaped right now, not through sudden changes, not through dramatic reinventions, but through the way you move through ordinary days. Your 6th house is not about productivity. It's about repetition. It reveals the rhythms you rely on, the comforts you protect, the standards you quietly reinforce every single day. With Taurus here, the pattern isn't urgency. It isn't chaos. It isn't constant movement. It's stability. And stability, when repeated long enough, becomes identity. Taurus in the 6th house learns early that consistency creates safety. When life feels unpredictable, you slow the pace. When emotions run high, you return to familiar routines. When the world shifts, you anchor yourself in what you already know works. This gives you a powerful steadiness in life. You become reliable, grounded, enduring. You show up the same way day after day. People trust that you will follow through. But daily life begins to revolve around preservation. You repeat the same patterns. You stick with systems that feel proven. You protect routines that keep life predictable. And this energy rarely feels limiting. For you, it feels responsible, practical, stable. And over time, a pattern forms. Instead of asking, is this still right for me? Your nervous system asks, is this safe to change? And when that question runs daily, the identity it builds is someone who prioritizes security before growth. You become known as the dependable one, the consistent one, the one who keeps things steady. But what's happening underneath is more complex. Every time you hold on to something familiar simply because it works, your system learns that change carries risk. Taurus in the sixth house often carries an unconscious belief that security must be preserved at all cost. If something is stable, you keep it. If something is reliable, you protect it. So your nervous system treats routine as a safeguard against uncertainty. You maintain, you sustain, and you hold. You believe that responsibility means protecting what already works. And in many ways, you are very good at that. But the deeper layer to this is that you may equate change with disruption and disruption with instability. So instead of questioning systems that feel comfortable, you remain loyal to them. Instead of exploring new approaches, you perfect the existing ones. Instead of releasing something that has run its course, you hold on to it a little longer than necessary. That subtle habit keeps you grounded, but sometimes immovable. You can become so practiced at maintaining stability that you forget growth often requires movement. So practiced at endurance that you tolerate situations longer than you should. So good at preserving comfort that you ignore where life is asking you to expand. And when that runs daily, your future begins to reflect a life where you are valued for reliability, but rarely invited into transformation. A balanced Taurus in the sixth house doesn't abandon stability. It simply learns how to evolve within it. There is a shift from rigid security to grounded flexibility. When regulated, your day feels calm inside your body. You still honor routine, but you allow it to evolve. You still move at a steady pace, but you remain open to new directions. So instead of asking, how do I keep this exactly the same? You ask, what supports my growth while still honoring my rhythm? That reordering changes everything. Consistency becomes supportive rather than restrictive. Stability becomes nourishing rather than stagnant. And your strength becomes adaptive rather than resistant. Your nervous system learns that security does not disappear when things change. And when that belief integrates, your routines begin to reflect self trust rather than fear of disruption. With Taurus in the sixth, transformation happens through gradual expansion, not abrupt upheaval. The first step to achieving this is to introduce one small change into a familiar routine. Take something you do every day and adjust it slightly. So, this could be a new route when you're driving, a new method when you're doing something, or a new timing method. By doing this, you are teaching your nervous system that change does not destroy stability. Next is to ask whether your habits still serve you. When you repeat a routine, pause and ask, is this supporting the life I want now? Some habits were built for a past version of you. Growth requires reassessment. Next is to release one obligation that exists only because it's familiar. Notice where you continue something simply because you've always done it, such as a commitment, a responsibility, or a routine. Allow yourself to step away from what no longer nourishes you. Next is to invest energy into what feels alive, not just secure. Security alone does not create fulfillment. Each day, spend time on something that stimulates your senses, creativity, or curiosity. Let pleasure guide your expansion. And finally, practice flexibility without losing your ground. You don't have to abandon structure to grow. Allow plans to shift. Allow your methods to evolve. Your strength comes from staying rooted while adapting to what life is asking you. When practiced consistently, these shifts soften rigidity without sacrificing stability. Your life stops being something you protect from change and starts becoming something you cultivate through steady growth. A great affirmation for Taurus in the sixth house is, I honor the stability I've built while remaining open to growth. My life expands through grounded change, and I trust myself to evolve without losing my foundation. Be sure to let me know what part hit home for you in the comments below. And of course, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, pass it along to someone who needs it, hype this video, and subscribe so you never miss the next download. And if you're tired of guessing and ready for real clarity, be sure to book a one-on-one with me. One session will change how you see yourself forever. And I offer over 10 different session styles to match what you actually need. All of my links for my offerings are in the description box below, so be sure to check them out. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Your life is not being shaped by the big decisions that you make once in a while. It's being shaped by the conversations in your head, the questions you chase, the information you consume, the way your mind moves from one thought to the next. The sixth house reveals the patterns that repeat so often they become automatic, such as your pace, your focus, or your mental atmosphere. With Gemini in the sixth house, the pattern isn't urgency, it isn't stability, and it isn't emotional adjustment. It's movement, mental movement. And when that movement becomes constant, it quietly shapes the kind of life you experience. Gemini in the sixth learns early that awareness creates safety. The more you understand something, the more prepared you feel. The more information you gather, the less vulnerable you feel to being caught off guard. So your mind stays active. You ask questions. You observe patterns. You connect ideas quickly. This gives you a sharp advantage in life. You become curious, adaptable, mentally agile. You can learn new systems quickly. You can move between conversations, ideas, and environments with ease. But with this energy, your daily life begins to revolve around stimulation. Your attention shifts frequently. Your mind jumps from one idea to the next. You take in more information than most people realize. It rarely feels chaotic because for you, it feels stimulating, engaging, and interesting. So over time, a pattern forms. Instead of asking, what deserves my focus? Your nervous system asks, what else is there to think about? And when that question runs daily, the identity it builds is someone who is constantly mentally engaged, but rarely mentally settled. You become known as the quick thinker, the curious one, the one who always has something to say or share. But what's happening underneath is more complex. Every time your mind moves to the next thought before finishing the last one, your system learns that stillness is unnecessary. And a life built on constant mental motion can slowly forget what it feels like to focus deeply. Gemini in the sixth often carries an unconscious belief that staying mentally active keeps you prepared. If you keep learning, you stay ahead. If you keep thinking, you stay adaptable. So your nervous system treats life like a continuous stream of information to process. You analyze, you interpret, you gather more data. You believe that awareness means keeping your mind engaged. And in so many ways, you are very good at that. But the deeper layer is you may equate stillness with boredom and boredom with wasted potential. So instead of sitting with a single idea, you explore five. Instead of committing to one direction, you keep multiple possibilities open. Instead of finishing one process before beginning another, you move fluidly between them. This subtle habit keeps you mentally flexible, but sometimes scattered. You can become so practiced at gathering information that you forget integration is where wisdom forms. You become so good at adaptability that consistency feels restrictive. You become so good at thinking that you rarely experience the quiet clarity that comes from focus. And when that runs daily, your future begins to reflect a life where you are valued for your intelligence, but stretched across too many directions to fully use it. A balanced Gemini in the sixth doesn't lose its curiosity. It simply learns how to channel it. There is a shift from restless thinking to intentional awareness. When regulated, your mind feels spacious rather than crowded. You still ask questions, but you stay with the answers long enough to understand them. You still explore ideas, but you follow them through to completion. Instead of asking, what else could I be doing? You ask, what deserves my attention right now? That reordering changes everything. Curiosity becomes productive rather than distracting. Information becomes insight rather than noise. And your intelligence becomes focused rather than fragmented. Your nervous system learns that depth is not the enemy of freedom. And when that belief integrates, your routines begin to reflect clarity rather than constant stimulation. With Gemini in the sixth, transformation happens through how you direct your attention, not by suppressing your curiosity. The first step to achieving this is to finish one thought before chasing the next. Notice how often your attention jumps. When an idea appears, stay with it long enough to fully understand it before moving on. Completion strengthens focus. Next is to limit the number of inputs you consume each day. Choose a few sources of information instead of many. So, books, podcasts, conversations, articles. Let them deepen rather than multiply. Your mind becomes clearer when it processes less at once. Next is to turn curiosity into exploration instead of distraction. When something interests you, explore it intentionally. Write about it. Research it deeply. Discuss it thoughtfully. This transforms scattered interests into meaningful knowledge. Next is to create one routine that grounds your mind daily. So, reading, journaling, walking, meditation, something that slows your thinking. This anchors your mental energy and helps your nervous system experience stillness without discomfort. And finally, practice focused attention. Choose one task each day and give it your full awareness. No multitasking, no switching between activities. This retrains your brain to experience satisfaction through depth rather than variety. When this is practiced consistently, these shifts organize your mental energy. Your life stops being something that pulls your attention in every direction and starts becoming something shaped by deliberate thought and focused curiosity. A great affirmation for Gemini in the sixth house is: my mind is clear, curious, and focused. I direct my attention with intention, and my thoughts create a life of clarity, presence, and meaningful connection. All right, it's chart confession time. Be sure to let me know what resonated most for you in the comments. And of course, tap that like button, share the vibes with your friends, hype this video, and subscribe so the stars always find you. And if you've been carrying emotions you can't name, as above, so within is where you finally give them language. This digital prompt journal guides you through your chart so you can understand what's shifting and what you're meant to release. All of my links for my offerings are in the description box below, so be sure to check them out. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Your life is not shaped by what you do. It's shaped by what you feel repeatedly. It's the emotional tone you wake up in, the moods you carry through your day, the ways you protect yourself when something feels uncertain. The sixth house reveals the patterns that repeat so often they become your normal. It's your daily emotional climate, your protective instincts, the ways you nurture, manage, and respond to life. With Cancer in the sixth house, the pattern isn't urgency. It isn't mental stimulation. And it isn't constant adjustment. It's protection. And protection, when repeated long enough, becomes identity. Cancer in the sixth learns early that emotional awareness creates safety. You notice subtle shifts in atmosphere. You sense when someone's mood changes. You feel the emotional temperature of your environment almost immediately. This makes you deeply perceptive. You become attentive, caring, protective. You remember what people need. You anticipate discomfort before it appears. But with this energy, daily life can begin to revolve around emotional management. You check how others feel. You monitor the emotional tone of a situation. You instinctively move to comfort, soften, or support. Instead of asking, "How do I feel right now?" your nervous system asks, "How is everyone else feeling?" And when that question runs daily, the identity it builds is someone who prioritizes emotional caretaking before personal grounding. You become known as the supportive one, the caring one, the one who always understands. But what happens underneath is more complex. Every time you absorb emotional signals from the outside world without checking in with your own inner state, your body learns that safety comes from tending to others first. And a life built around emotional caretaking can slowly forget what it feels like to be emotionally held. Cancer in the sixth often carries an unconscious belief that emotional stability must be protected. If people feel safe, things stay calm. If the emotional environment stays steady, everything works. So, your nervous system treats emotional awareness as a responsibility. You soothe, you nurture, you anticipate. You believe that care means staying emotionally available. And in so many ways, you are very good at that. But the deeper layer is that you then start to equate emotional distance with rejection and rejection with insecurity. So instead of allowing others to manage their own feelings, you step in. Instead of focusing on your own emotional needs, you monitor the environment. Instead of letting emotional waves pass naturally, you try to soften them. That subtle habit keeps you compassionate, but sometimes emotionally overextended. You can become so practiced at caring for others that you forget to anchor yourself. So good at anticipating needs that you overlook your own. So good at maintaining emotional comfort that you tolerate situations that quietly drain you. And when that runs daily, your future begins to reflect a life where you are valued for your warmth, but rarely protected by the same care that you give. A balanced Cancer in the sixth doesn't stop caring. It simply learns how to care without abandoning itself. There is a shift from emotional absorption to emotional grounding. When regulated, your day feels calmer inside your body. You will still notice emotional shifts, but you don't immediately internalize them. You still care deeply, but your empathy has boundaries. Instead of asking, "How can I make everyone feel better?" you ask, what does my emotional center need right now? By reframing this, care becomes mutual instead of one sided. Support becomes nourishing instead of draining. Your sensitivity becomes a strength rather than a burden. Your nervous system learns that emotional safety begins with you. And when that belief integrates, your routines begin to reflect emotional steadiness rather than emotional overextension. With Cancer in the sixth, transformation happens through how you care for your own emotional world, not by shutting down your sensitivity. The first step to achieving this is to begin the day by checking in with yourself first. Before engaging with others, pause and ask, how do I actually feel today? Notice your mood, your body, and your emotional state. Your inner world deserves the same attention you give everyone else. Next is to let others manage their own emotions. When someone around you feels upset, resist the urge to fix it. Offer presence if it's invited, but allow people to process their own emotional waves. This creates healthier boundaries for your energy. Next is to create one daily ritual that feels emotionally nourishing, something that's gentle and restorative. This can be something as simple as sipping tea in silence, taking a quiet walk, or listening to music that softens your body. These rituals remind your nervous system that comfort can come from within. Next is to notice where you absorb feelings that aren't yours. When you feel overwhelmed emotionally, pause and ask, is this mine or am I carrying someone else's mood? This question restores clarity and emotional autonomy. Finally, protect your energy the same way you protect others. You naturally create emotional safety for people around you. Practice offering that same protection to yourself. Step back when something drains you. Rest when you feel overwhelmed. Choose environments that support your emotional well being. When you practice these shifts, it strengthens your emotional center. Your life stops revolving around managing everyone else's feelings and starts becoming a space where your own heart is supported and protected. A great affirmation for Cancer in the sixth house is, my sensitivity is a strength, and my emotional world deserves care and protection. I nurture myself first, and my life reflects the same warmth and security I offer to others. If your soul just got a wake up call, be brave and share it in the comments. And of course, give this video some love with a thumbs up, share it with your friends, hype this video, and subscribe for more magic. And if you need to remember that you are the prize, be sure to grab my Venus Activation Digital Journal. It's designed to rewire how you love yourself and what you expect in relationships. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Your life is not only shaped by what you accomplish, it's shaped by how you show up while doing it. It's the effort you put into your work, the pride you take in your responsibilities, the personal standard you quietly refuse to drop. The sixth house reveals the patterns that repeat so often, they become who you are. It's your daily discipline, your work ethic, the way you carry yourself through ordinary tasks. With Leo here, the pattern isn't urgency, it isn't emotional caretaking, and it isn't mental stimulation. It's pride. And pride, when repeated long enough, becomes identity. Leo in the sixth learns early that effort earns recognition. You notice when hard work is praised. You feel when excellence stands out. You learn that when you give yourself something your full energy, people respond. So you begin to show up with intensity. You take responsibilities seriously. You want the work you do to reflect who you are. You put your heart into what others might treat casually. This gives you a powerful presence in everyday life. You become committed, dedicated, reliable. You take pride in doing things well. You refuse to deliver something half-hearted. But with this energy, daily life can begin to revolve around performance. You push yourself to maintain a high standard. You feel responsible for showing strength even when you're tired. You hold yourself to expectations that others may not even notice. Instead of asking, what feels authentic to me right now? Your nervous system asks, am I living up to the standard I set? And when that question runs daily, the identity it builds is someone who feels responsible for proving their worth through consistent effort. You become known as the dependable one, the passionate one, the one who gives everything their full energy. But what's happening underneath is that every time you push yourself to uphold your personal standard, even when your heart needs rest, your system learns that worth is something to maintain. And a life built on constant self-expectation can slowly forget what it feels like to simply exist without performing. Leo in the sixth often carries an unconscious belief that respect must be earned through consistency. That if you show up fully, you stay valued. If you maintain excellence, you remain admired. So your nervous system treats effort as a proof of identity. You give your best. You take responsibility. You push yourself to lead by example. You believe that character is demonstrated through the way you handle everyday life. And in so many ways, you are very good at that. But with that, you begin to equate rest with losing momentum, and losing momentum with fading from relevance. So instead of letting yourself step back when you need to recharge, you keep showing up. Instead of allowing imperfections to exist, you refine your work until it reflects the standard you hold. Instead of acknowledging your need for recognition, you quietly expect yourself to rise above it. This subtle habit keeps you admirable, but sometimes exhausted. You become so good at carrying responsibility with pride that you forget to let yourself be supported. You become so practiced at being strong that vulnerability feels uncomfortable. So good at delivering excellence that you rarely allow yourself to simply enjoy the moment. And when that type of energy runs daily, your future begins to reflect a life where you are respected for your strength, but rarely celebrated for your humanity. A balanced Leo in the sixth doesn't lose its pride, it simply reconnects with its joy. There is a shift from proving worth to expressing identity. When regulated, your day feels lighter inside your body. You still care deeply about what you do, but you're no longer carrying it like a burden. You still give your full energy, but it comes from enthusiasm rather than obligation. So instead of asking, am I living up to the standard? You ask, does this reflect who I truly am? By reframing this, effort becomes creative rather than pressured. Responsibility becomes fulfilling rather than heavy. And your presence becomes inspiring rather than demanding. Your nervous system learns that dignity does not require constant performance. And when that belief integrates, your routines begin to reflect authentic self expression rather than relentless self expectation. With Leo in the sixth, transformation happens through reconnecting your work with your heart, not by abandoning your standards. The first step to achieving this is to allow one task each day to be done for enjoyment, not because it proves anything and not because it's impressive, simply because it feels good to do. Joy reconnects you to the heart of Leo energy. Next is to let yourself be seen without over delivering. Notice where you go the extra mile to maintain your reputation. Practice allowing your presence to be enough, even when you're not performing at your highest level. Next is to celebrate effort instead of only results. Take time to acknowledge the work you've done rather than immediately moving to the next responsibility. Recognition begins with you. Next is to share responsibility instead of carrying everything alone. You may naturally take charge when something needs to be done. So practice allowing others to participate and contribute. Leadership becomes stronger when it invites collaboration. And finally, reconnect with the creative energy behind your work. Ask yourself regularly, what part of this excites me? When your routines include creativity and self expression, work becomes something that energizes you instead of something that drains you. Practicing these shifts soften the pressure you place on yourself. Your life stops being something you prove through effort and starts becoming something you express through authenticity. A great affirmation for Leo in the sixth house is, my worth is not measured by constant performance. I bring heart, creativity, and authenticity into everything I do, and my life reflects the joy of being fully myself. If this stirred something in you, say so in the comments. I want to hear it. And of course, if this lit you up, be sure to hit like, hype this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you never miss the next download. And if something in this video hit, that's your sign to book a one-on-one with me. One session can shift your entire relationship with yourself. And you can choose from over 10 personalized session types. All of my links to my offerings are listed in the description box below, so be sure to check them out. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Your life is not only shaped by the goals you chase, it's shaped by the standards you live inside every single day. It's the details you notice, the corrections you make, the internal measurements you apply to yourself before anyone else ever does. The sixth house reveals the patterns that repeat so often, they become your normal. This is your habits, your internal expectations, the quiet systems you build to manage life. With Virgo here, the pattern isn't urgency, it isn't emotional caretaking, and it isn't performance. It's refinement. And refinement, when repeated long enough, becomes identity. Virgo in the sixth learns early that improvement creates safety. You notice inconsistencies quickly. You see what could be organized better, explained better, executed better. Where others see something finished, you see potential. This gives you an extraordinary ability to refine systems and elevate quality. You become thoughtful, observant, precise. You care about doing things well. You hold yourself accountable to the details others overlook. But with this energy, daily life begins to revolve around internal correction. You analyze how something could be improved. You mentally review conversations. You refine your approach to make sure it lands better next time. Instead of asking, "Is this meaningful to me?" your nervous system asks, "How can this be done better?" And when that question runs daily, the identity it builds is someone who feels responsible for maintaining order, clarity, and quality at all times. You become known as the reliable one, the organized one, the one who keeps things running smoothly. But what's happening underneath is more complex. Every time you correct yourself before allowing something to simply exist, your system learns that worth is connected to improvement. And a life built on constant refinement can slowly forget what it feels like to simply be enough without adjustment. Virgo in the sixth often carries an unconscious belief that excellence prevents problems. That if things are well managed, life runs smoothly. If details are handled carefully, mistakes can be avoided. So your nervous system treats improvement as protection. You plan, you prepare, you analyze. You believe that being thorough keeps everything functioning properly. And in many ways, it does. But the deeper layer of this is that you then equate imperfection with vulnerability, and vulnerability with losing control. So instead of letting things unfold naturally, you refine them. Instead of allowing mistakes to exist, you correct them. Instead of acknowledging that some situations are simply unpredictable, you try to prepare for every outcome. This subtle habit keeps you capable, but constantly vigilant. You become so practiced at maintaining standards that you forget to experience life without evaluating it. You become so practiced at responsibility that relaxation feels unfamiliar. So practiced at fixing problems that you stop recognizing when something is already good enough. And when that type of energy runs daily, your future begins to reflect a life where you are respected for your competence, but rarely freed from the pressure of maintaining it. A balanced Virgo in the sixth house doesn't lose its discernment. It simply relaxes its grip on perfection. There is a shift from constant correction to intentional care. When regulated, your day feels steadier inside your body. You still notice details, but you're not compelled to adjust every one of them. You still value improvement, but you allow progress to unfold naturally. Instead of asking what needs to be fixed, you ask what deserves my attention right now. Through this shift in perspective, effort becomes focused rather than scattered. Standards become supportive rather than restrictive. Your intelligence becomes grounding rather than exhausting. Your nervous system learns that competence does not require constant vigilance. And when that belief integrates, your routines begin to reflect clarity rather than pressure. With Virgo in the sixth, transformation happens through how you direct your attention, not by abandoning your high standards. The first step to achieving this is to let one imperfection exist each day without correcting it. Notice the instinct to refine something immediately. This could be a sentence, a plan, or even a detail. Practice letting one small thing remain unfinished or imperfect. Your nervous system learns that stability does not disappear when everything isn't optimized. Next is to replace self-critique with self-observation. When you notice yourself mentally reviewing what you could have done better, shift the question. Instead of asking, "What did I do wrong?" ask, "What did I learn here?" This moves your mind from judgment to growth. Next is to focus your energy on what truly matters. Not every detail deserves equal attention. Choose the few areas where your precision genuinely improves the outcome, and allow the rest to remain simple. Discernment strengthens when it becomes selective. Next is to build routines that support your body, not just your output. Virgo energy often prioritizes function over sensation. Include practices that reconnect you with your physical state. So, stretching, breathing, walking, resting. Your body is part of the system you are managing. And finally, recognize when something is already complete. Before making one more adjustment, pause and ask, is this already good? Learning to recognize completion restores balance to Virgo's desire to improve. When you practice these shifts, they soften the internal pressure you carry. Your life stops revolving around constant refinement and begins to reflect a rhythm where excellence and ease coexist. A great affirmation for Virgo in the sixth house is: I allow my standards to support me rather than control me. My life reflects clarity, intention, and the quiet confidence of knowing that I am already enough. Let's make this a chart therapy session and share your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, your 3-second ritual: like this video, share it, hype this video, and subscribe to keep this energy coming your way. And if you feel like you're standing at a turning point in your life, a one-on-one with me helps you to understand exactly what's happening and where you're meant to go next. I offer over 10 session types so we can zero in on what matters most to you. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Your life is not only shaped by the choices you make, it's shaped by the adjustments you make to keep things smooth. It's the tone you soften, the tension you diffuse, the subtle recalibrations you perform so interactions stay comfortable. The sixth house reveals the patterns that repeat so often, they become your baseline. This is your daily posture in relationships, your emotional pacing with others, the invisible negotiations you perform without thinking. With Libra here, the pattern isn't urgency, it isn't pressure, and it isn't overanalyzing. It's calibration. And calibration, when repeated long enough, becomes identity. Libra in the sixth learns early that harmony keeps things stable. You notice subtle changes in tone. You feel when someone becomes uncomfortable. You instinctively sense when the atmosphere shifts. This makes you socially intelligent and emotionally perceptive. You become thoughtful, considerate, balanced. You know how to smooth rough edges in conversation. You understand how small adjustments can change the entire dynamic. But with this, daily life begins to revolve around managing relational atmosphere. You soften strong reactions. You adjust your delivery so others feel comfortable. You subtly align your energy to the room you're in. Instead of asking, what feels true for me right now, your nervous system asks, what keeps this interaction balanced? And when that question runs daily, the identity it builds is someone who prioritizes equilibrium before authenticity. You become known as the easy collaborator, the considerate partner, the person who keeps situations calm. But what's happening underneath is that every time you adjust externally without checking your internal response, your body learns that stability depends on maintaining harmony. And a life built around constant adjustment can slowly lose contact with what it feels like to move through the world unedited. Libra in the sixth often carries an unconscious belief that relational balance must be preserved. If everyone feels comfortable, the situation stays stable. If tension appears, something needs to be smoothed. So, your nervous system treats harmony as something to maintain. So you adjust your tone, you negotiate perspective, you soften direct reactions. You believe that cooperation prevents conflict. And in so many ways, you're very good at that. But the deeper layer is that you then equate disagreement with disconnection and disconnection with instability. So instead of letting tension exist naturally, you intervene. Instead of stating your preference clearly, you shape it so it lands gently. Instead of exploring imbalance, you correct it quickly. That subtle habit keeps you socially skilled, but sometimes personally diluted. You become so good at preserving equilibrium that you forget to prioritize your own perspective. You're so practiced at fairness that desire becomes secondary. So good at collaboration that independence feels unfamiliar. And when that energy runs through your life daily, your future begins to reflect a life where you are valued for your composure, but rarely challenged to fully inhabit your own position. A balanced Libra in the sixth doesn't stop caring about harmony, it simply stops managing it constantly. There's a shift from external calibration to internal alignment. And when regulated, your day feels steadier inside your body. You still notice relational dynamics, but you don't automatically take responsibility for correcting them. You still care about fairness, but you remain anchored in your own perspective. Instead of asking, how do I keep this balanced? You ask, what feels aligned for me within this dynamic? This shift in perspective changes everything because harmony becomes organic rather than engineered. Communication becomes honest rather than filtered. Relationships become mutual rather than carefully maintained. Your nervous system learns that connection can survive moments of imbalance. And when that belief integrates, your routines begin to reflect authenticity rather than constant adjustment. With Libra in the sixth, transformation happens through small relational choices, not dramatic confrontations. The first step to achieving this is to pause before agreeing. When someone asks for your time, energy, or opinion, resist answering immediately. Take a moment and ask yourself, what do I actually think about this? That pause allows your authentic response to surface before your reflex to preserve harmony. Next is to express one preference daily without softening it. Not a major boundary, just clarity. So, I'd rather do this, or that doesn't work for me, or I prefer something else. No over explaining, no cushioning. By doing this, you are teaching your nervous system that clarity does not threaten connection. Next is to let small discomfort exist without fixing it. If someone feels mildly disappointed or irritated, notice the urge to smooth the moment. Instead of intervening, observe. Discomfort is not always a problem to solve. Sometimes it is simply part of honest interaction. Next is to track where subtle resentment appears. Resentment often signals a moment where you adjusted instead of expressing your true perspective. Each time you feel it, ask yourself, where did I prioritize balance over honesty? Patterns will begin to reveal themselves. And finally, make one decision each day without external input. Choose something, small or medium, without asking for validation. Structure your time differently. Select what you want. Decline something quietly. Self-trust strengthens when you practice acting from your own center. When you practice these shifts, they recalibrate your relational posture. Your life stops revolving around maintaining balance for everyone else and begins reflecting a rhythm where your voice holds equal weight in the dynamic. A great affirmation for Libra in the sixth house is, I move through my life with clarity and self-trust. My voice matters, my perspective is valid, and authentic connection begins when I allow myself to show up exactly as I am. Be sure to let me know what part hit home for you in the comments below. And of course, give this video some love with a thumbs up, share it with your friends, hype this video, and subscribe for more magic. And if you've been pretending you're fine while silently falling apart, my As Above, So Within digital journal is your turning point. This prompt journal helps you to face the real you, the one who's ready to rise. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Your life is not only shaped by what you commit to, it's shaped by how deeply you engage with it, the focus you bring to problems, the intensity you apply to improvement, the way you move through daily life with an instinct to understand what lies beneath the surface. The sixth house reveals the patterns that repeat so often they become your baseline. So, your work habits, your internal pressure, the emotional energy you invest in everyday responsibilities. With Scorpio here, the pattern isn't speed or constant adjustment or even mental stimulation. It's depth. And depth, when repeated long enough, becomes identity. Scorpio in the sixth learns early that awareness creates power. You notice what others overlook. You sense hidden dynamics in situations. You instinctively look for the underlying motive, the deeper pattern, the unseen tension. It gives you extraordinary focus. You become perceptive, strategic, determined. You commit fully to the responsibilities you take on. You prefer to understand things thoroughly rather than superficially. But with this energy, your daily life begins to revolve around emotional intensity. You analyze what others might dismiss. You stay mentally engaged with problems until you understand them completely. You hold yourself to a level of internal accountability that rarely relaxes. Instead of asking, what deserves my energy, your nervous system asks, what is really going on here? And when that question runs daily, the identity it builds is someone who lives with constant internal vigilance. You become known as the observant one, the determined one, the person who never overlooks what matters. But what's happening underneath is more complex because every time you dive deeper into situations without allowing yourself to step back, your system learns that control comes from intensity. And a life built on constant emotional depth can slowly forget what it feels like to move through life lightly. Scorpio in the sixth often carries an unconscious belief that vigilance prevents vulnerability. That if you understand the deeper dynamics, you stay prepared. That if you detect hidden patterns, you stay protected. So your nervous system treats awareness as a form of control. You investigate, you analyze, you stay emotionally alert. You believe that insight protects you from being blindsided. And in so many ways, you're very good at that. But with that energy, you also begin to equate letting go with losing control, and losing control with exposure. So instead of allowing things to unfold naturally, you remain engaged. Instead of releasing situations that are complete, you continue analyzing them. Instead of allowing uncertainty to exist, you search for the deeper meaning behind it. That subtle habit keeps you perceptive, but constantly activated. You become so good at detecting underlying dynamics that you forget to experience the present moment without investigating it. You become so practiced at intensity that relaxation feels unfamiliar, and so practiced at control that surrender feels risky. And when that type of energy runs daily, your future begins to reflect a life where you are respected for your depth, but rarely free from the weight of carrying it. A balanced Scorpio in the sixth doesn't lose its depth, it simply learns when to release it. There is a shift from constant investigation to intentional awareness. And when regulated, your day feels calmer inside your body. You still notice hidden patterns, but you're not compelled to examine every one of them. You still value emotional truth, but you allow situations to breathe without dissecting them. So instead of asking, what is really happening beneath the surface, you ask, does this require my energy right now? Through this reframe, awareness becomes focused rather than consuming. Strength becomes steady rather than intense. And your perception becomes empowering rather than exhausting. Your nervous system learns that control is not required for stability. And when that belief integrates, your routines begin to reflect quiet power rather than constant vigilance. With Scorpio in the sixth, transformation happens through how you direct your depth, not by suppressing it. The first step to achieving this is to choose where your depth truly belongs. Not every situation requires full emotional analysis. So ask yourself, does this deserve my full attention, or can I let it pass? Your power increases when your focus becomes selective. Next is to practice releasing what is already complete. Notice when you revisit situations mentally long after they've ended. Consciously tell yourself, this chapter is finished. Release restores energy. Next is to create moments of simplicity in your day. Include activities that require no analysis. So, walking, listening to music, spending time in nature. These moments remind your nervous system that life does not always require investigation. Next is to let curiosity replace suspicion. When something feels unclear, approach it with openness rather than immediate scrutiny. Curiosity keeps your perception sharp without creating unnecessary tension. And finally, allow yourself to experience joy without control. Choose one experience each day where you participate fully without monitoring the outcome. So, this is simply laughing, relaxing, and engaging. Through doing this, you are reminding your system that depth and lightness can coexist. When you practice these shifts consistently, they recalibrate your internal intensity. Your life stops revolving around constant emotional vigilance and begins reflecting the quiet strength of someone who knows how to engage deeply and when to let life move freely. A great affirmation for Scorpio in the sixth house is, my depth is a source of strength, not pressure. I direct my energy with intention, trust my inner power, and allow life to unfold without carrying every moment alone. Let's make this a full circle moment. Share your biggest aha or ouch in the comments. And of course, love on this video with a like, hype this video, spread the magic to your friends, and subscribe so the universe keeps us synced. And if something in this video hit, that's your sign to book a one-on-one with me. One session can shift your entire relationship with yourself. And you can choose from over 10 personalized session types. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Your life is not only shaped by what you believe, it's shaped by the direction you move in every single day. It's the momentum you maintain, the horizons you pursue, the instinct you have to keep life growing, evolving, and moving forward. The sixth house reveals the patterns that repeat so often they become your baseline. It's your daily rhythm, your internal motivation, the pace at which you pursue possibility. With Sagittarius here, the pattern isn't emotional caretaking. It isn't careful calibration, and it isn't internal correction. It's expansion. And expansion, when repeated long enough, becomes identity. Sagittarius in the sixth learns early that movement creates freedom. When life feels stagnant, you push towards something bigger. When routine becomes repetitive, you seek a new challenge. When circumstances feel limiting, your instinct is to widen the horizon. This gives you an incredible sense of possibility. You become optimistic, visionary, motivated. You look for growth even in ordinary circumstances. You prefer progress over perfection. But then your daily life begins to revolve around momentum. So you set new goals quickly. You look for the next opportunity to improve or expand your situation. You push forward even when the present moment hasn't fully settled. Instead of asking, what is meaningful for me right now? Your nervous system asks, where can this lead next? And when that question runs daily, the identity it builds is someone who constantly moves toward the future. You become known as the motivated one, the adventurous one, the person who always believes something better is possible. But what's happening underneath is that every time you look ahead before fully experiencing where you are, your system learns that satisfaction lives somewhere beyond the present moment. And a life built on constant expansion can slowly forget what it feels like to fully inhabit the moment you're already in. Sagittarius in the sixth often carries an unconscious belief that growth must always continue, that if you keep expanding, life improves. If you stay in motion, opportunity appears. So your nervous system treats forward movement as progress. You explore, you pursue new ideas, you look for ways to stretch beyond limitations. You believe that staying open to possibility keeps life exciting. And this is very true in many ways. But the deeper layer is that you begin to equate stillness with stagnation, and stagnation with losing your sense of purpose. So instead of allowing routines to stabilize you, you push them to evolve. Instead of sitting with what you already have, you imagine what could exist beyond it. Instead of letting satisfaction settle, you look for the next experience that expands your world. This subtle habit keeps you inspired, but sometimes restless. You become so practiced at seeking the next horizon that you forget to experience the ground beneath your feet. You're so good at growth that consistency feels restrictive, and so good at movement that stillness feels unfamiliar. And when that energy runs daily, your future begins to reflect a life where you are admired for your vision, but rarely anchored in the present. A balanced Sagittarius in the sixth doesn't lose its sense of adventure. It simply learns how to anchor it. There's a shift from constant pursuit to meaningful direction. When regulated, your day feels more grounded inside your body. You still look toward the future, but you're not racing to reach it. You still embrace growth, but you allow it to unfold naturally. So instead of asking, what's next? You ask, what actually expands my life in a meaningful way? This reframe allows exploration to become intentional rather than restless. Growth becomes sustainable rather than scattered. And your optimism becomes grounding rather than distracting. Your nervous system learns that expansion does not require constant movement. And when that belief integrates, your routines begin to reflect purpose rather than perpetual searching. With Sagittarius in the sixth, transformation happens through how you channel your desire for growth, not by suppressing it. The first step to achieving this is to choose one area of life to expand with focus. Instead of spreading your energy across many possibilities, select one direction that genuinely excites you. Commit your attention there. Focused expansion creates lasting growth. Next is to let routine support your vision. Structure doesn't limit you, it sustains you. Build small daily habits that support the bigger future you're creating. Consistency turns vision into reality. Next is to experience the present moment without rushing past it. Notice when your mind moves quickly toward what comes next. Pause and engage fully with what you're doing right now. Presence strengthens clarity. Next is to reflect on what you've already achieved. Take time to acknowledge the progress you've made. Growth becomes meaningful when you recognize the distance you've already traveled. And finally, let curiosity guide you instead of constant escape. When you seek something new, ask yourself, am I exploring this because it excites me or because I'm avoiding something here? Curiosity creates expansion without disconnecting you from your current life. When you practice these shifts consistently, they stabilize your momentum. Your life stops being something you constantly chase toward the horizon and begins reflecting the path where growth and presence exist together. A great affirmation for Sagittarius in the sixth house is, my life expands with purpose and clarity. I move forward with vision while remaining grounded in the present moment, trusting that every step supports the path I'm meant to walk. All right, let's talk about it. What did this unlock for you? Be sure to comment and let it out. And of course, be sure to tap like if you felt called out in a good way. Pass this on to your besties, hype this video, and subscribe to keep growing with me. And if you need to remember that you are the prize, be sure to grab my Venus Activation Journal. It's designed to rewire how you love yourself and what you expect in relationships. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Your life is not only shaped by the goals you set, it's shaped by the responsibilities you carry every single day. It's the standards you quietly maintain, the work you complete, whether anyone sees it or not, the internal structure you rely on to keep life moving forward. The sixth house reveals the patterns that repeat so often, they become your baseline. This is your work ethic, your personal expectations, the way you hold yourself accountable in ordinary moments. With Capricorn here, the pattern isn't urgency or emotional caretaking. It's discipline. And discipline, when repeated long enough, becomes identity. Capricorn in the sixth learns early that responsibility creates stability. You notice what needs to be done and you handle it. You see what others overlook and you take ownership of it. You recognize that consistency builds something real over time. This gives you an extraordinary capacity for endurance. You become reliable, focused, self-directed. You take commitments seriously. You hold yourself to standards that don't depend on external pressure. But with this, your daily life begins to revolve around responsibility. You handle tasks methodically. You prioritize obligations before personal comfort. You push yourself to maintain structure even when your energy runs low. And instead of asking, what really supports me right now, your nervous system asks, what still needs to be handled? And when that question runs daily, the identity it builds is someone who carries responsibility before they allow themselves relief. You become known as the dependable one, the disciplined one, the person others trust when something important needs to get done. But what's happening underneath is that every time you prioritize duty before acknowledging your own limits, your system learns that stability comes from holding everything together. And a life built on constant responsibility can slowly forget what it feels like to set the weight down. Capricorn in the sixth often carries an unconscious belief that reliability protects your position in the world. That if you stay consistent, things remain stable. That if you handle what's required, progress continues. So your nervous system treats discipline as security. You organize, prioritize, you handle what needs to be done. You believe that steady effort creates long-term success. And of course, in many ways, it does. But in this, you begin to equate rest with falling behind, and falling behind with losing control. So instead of pausing when something feels heavy, you continue moving forward. Instead of allowing vulnerability to surface, you focus on the next responsibility. Instead of acknowledging that you've already done enough, you look for the next task that requires your attention. This subtle habit keeps you strong, but constantly carrying weight. You can become so good at responsibility that you forget to experience life outside of obligation. You become so good at discipline that enjoyment feels secondary. So good at endurance that asking for support feels unnecessary. And when this type of energy runs daily, your future begins to reflect a life where you are respected for your reliability, but rarely relieved from the pressure of maintaining it. A balanced Capricorn in the sixth doesn't lose its discipline. It simply learns how to use it wisely. There's a shift from constant responsibility to intentional structure. When regulated, your day feels steadier inside your body. You still value consistency, but you allow space for recovery. You still take commitments seriously, but they no longer define your entire identity. And instead of asking what still needs to be handled, you ask what actually deserves my effort. With this shift, discipline becomes strategic rather than exhausting. Responsibility becomes sustainable rather than overwhelming. Your strength becomes supportive rather than heavy. Your nervous system learns that stability does not require carrying every burden alone. And when that belief integrates, your routines begin to reflect leadership rather than pressure. With Capricorn in the sixth, transformation happens through how you distribute responsibility, not by abandoning your discipline. The first step to achieving this is to separate what is truly yours from what you've taken on. Notice where you automatically assume responsibility and ask yourself, is this actually mine to carry? Releasing unnecessary obligations restores your energy. Next is to build structures that includes rest. Discipline is strongest when it includes recovery. Schedule time to step away from work the same way you schedule time to complete it. Sustainability strengthens long-term success. Next is to acknowledge completion before moving forward. When a task is finished, pause long enough to recognize it. Your nervous system needs to experience closure before moving to the next responsibility. Next is to invite support earlier instead of later. You may instinctively handle things alone. Practice allowing collaboration before you reach your limit. Shared responsibility strengthens leadership. And finally, let your work reflect purpose, not just obligation. Ask yourself regularly, is this building something meaningful for my future? When your effort connects to purpose, discipline becomes energizing instead of draining. Through practicing these shifts, you rebalance your relationship with responsibility. Your life stops revolving around carrying every obligation alone and begins reflecting a structure where effort and sustainability work together. A great affirmation for a Capricorn in the sixth house is, my discipline supports the life I am building. I carry responsibility with wisdom, honor my limits, and create a future where my strength is sustainable and purposeful. The floor is yours. What part of this video spoke straight to your soul? Be sure to tell me in the comments below. And of course, your 3-second ritual: like this video, share it, hype it, and subscribe to keep this energy coming your way. And if you need to remember that you are the prize, be sure to grab my digital Venus activation journal. It's designed to rewire how you love yourself and what you expect in relationships. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Your life is not only shaped by what you do, it's shaped by how personally you allow yourself to experience it. It's the distance you maintain from routine, the mental space you create between yourself and obligation. It's the instinct you have to observe life rather than fully merge with it. The sixth house reveals the patterns that repeat so often that they become your baseline. It's your daily engagement with responsibility, your emotional relationship with routine, and the way that you move through ordinary life. With Aquarius here, the pattern isn't urgency or pressure, it's detachment. And detachment, when repeated long enough, becomes identity. Aquarius in the sixth learns early that perspective creates freedom. You notice patterns others miss. You see systems from the outside. You naturally step back and observe before getting emotionally involved. This gives you a unique mental clarity. You become insightful, innovative, and independent. You question systems instead of automatically participating in them. You prefer to understand how things work rather than simply follow routine. But with this energy, your daily life begins to revolve around mental distance. So instead of asking, how do I experience this moment? Your nervous system asks, how does this system function? And when that question runs daily, the identity it builds is someone who relates to life through observation before participation. And you become known as the visionary one, the independent one, the person who sees what others overlook. But what's happening underneath is that every time you step outside of the moment to analyze it, your system learns that distance protects autonomy. Aquarius in the sixth often carries an unconscious belief that emotional distance preserves freedom. That if you stay objective, you stay independent. If you remain mentally removed, you avoid becoming trapped in situations. So your nervous system treats detachment as protection. You observe, question, step back. You believe that perspective keeps you free. And in many ways, it does. But on another level, you then begin to equate emotional involvement with losing autonomy, and losing autonomy with losing control of your direction. So instead of allowing yourself to fully engage in routines, you keep them slightly at arm's length. Instead of letting yourself feel immersed in daily life, you maintain perspective. Instead of committing to structures deeply, you remain flexible enough to detach from them at any moment. This subtle habit keeps you independent, but sometimes disconnected. You can become so good at maintaining autonomy that collaboration feels restrictive, or so good at intellectualizing situations that emotional presence becomes secondary. And when that type of energy runs daily, your future begins to reflect a life where you're admired for your insight, but rarely anchored in the moment you're living. A balanced Aquarius in the sixth doesn't lose its perspective. It simply learns how to participate more fully. There is a shift from constant observation to conscious engagement. When regulated, your day feels more integrated inside your body. You still think independently, but you allow yourself to participate in what you're building. You still question systems, but you also contribute to shaping them. So instead of asking, how does this work from the outside? You ask, how do I want to contribute to this? This reframing allows your perspective to become more empowering rather than distancing. Innovation becomes practical rather than abstract. And your independence becomes collaborative rather than isolating. Your nervous system learns that engagement does not threaten freedom. And when that belief integrates, your routines begin to reflect creative participation rather than emotional distance. With Aquarius in the sixth house, transformation happens through how you engage with the life you're analyzing, not by abandoning your independence. The first step to achieving this is to fully engage with one responsibility every day. Choose one task and immerse yourself in it completely. No analyzing it from the outside, no mentally stepping back. just participate. Presence reconnects you with the moment. Next is to let routine become a tool for freedom. Structure does not limit your independence, it supports it. Build daily systems that allow your creativity and vision to function more effectively. Next is to notice when you are observing instead of experiencing. Ask yourself, am I participating in this moment or watching it from the outside? That awareness helps you to shift from distance to engagement. Next is to collaborate without losing your perspective. Invite others into your processes without abandoning your individuality. Innovation grows stronger through shared insight. And finally, let your ideas become action. Aquarius energy thrives on vision. So choose one idea and translate it into something tangible every day. Action grounds inspiration. When you practice these shifts consistently, they allow you to reconnect with the life that you are shaping. Your routines will stop revolving around observing how systems work and begin reflecting the power of someone actively building a future within them. A great affirmation for Aquarius in the sixth house is: my independence strengthens my engagement with life. I participate fully in what I create, trusting that my perspective and presence work together to shape the future I envision. Okay, your turn. Be sure to chat with me in the comments and let me know what resonated with you. And of course, if this lit you up, be sure to hit like, share it with your friends, hype this video, and subscribe so you never miss the next download. And if you feel like you're standing at a turning point in your life, a one-on-one with me helps you to understand exactly what's happening and where you're meant to go next. Plus, I have over 10 different session types so we can zero in on what matters most to you. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching. Your life is not only shaped by what you intend to do, it's shaped by what you allow to unfold without direction. This is the boundaries that you keep soft, the responsibilities you approach intuitively rather than rigidly. It's the quiet tendency to move through life guided by feeling instead of structure. The sixth house reveals the patterns that repeat so often they become your baseline. It's your relationship with routine, your response to responsibility, the way you move through ordinary life. With Pisces here, the pattern isn't urgency or control, it's flow. And flow, when repeated long enough, becomes identity. Pisces in the sixth learns early that sensitivity reveals more than structure. You notice emotional currents others overlook. You feel atmospheres rather than simply observing them. You instinctively respond to life based on intuition instead of strict plans. This gives you a beautiful ability to move fluidly through situations. You become compassionate, perceptive, adaptable. You can sense what others need without being told. And you often understand emotional dynamics before they're spoken aloud. But within this energy, your daily life begins to revolve around subtle drift. You respond to what the moment asks of you rather than following a strict schedule. You allow feelings to guide your decisions about when to act and when to pause. You move with intuition rather than rigid expectation. Instead of asking, what direction do I want to create today? Your nervous system asks, what feels right in this moment? And when that question runs daily, the identity it builds is someone who moves through life guided by feeling rather than structure. You become known as the compassionate one, the intuitive one, the person who understands what others are going through. But what's happening underneath is more complex because every time you allow circumstances to shape your direction instead of defining it yourself, your system learns that surrender is easier than structure. Pisces in the sixth house often carries an unconscious belief that structure restricts your natural rhythm. That if things are too rigid, you feel confined. If expectations become strict, your creativity fades. So your nervous system treats flexibility as freedom. You move intuitively. You respond emotionally. You allow circumstances to guide your pace. You believe that sensitivity keeps you connected to life. And in many ways, it does. But also, you may equate discipline with losing your sense of flow, and losing flow with losing yourself. So instead of creating consistent systems, you adapt to whatever arises. Instead of maintaining clear boundaries around your time and energy, you allow others to influence them. And instead of committing to structured routines, you trust that inspiration will guide you. Now, this subtle habit keeps you open, but also sometimes scattered because you become so good at responding to emotional currents that you forget to anchor yourself in a clear direction. You're so practiced at compassion that your own needs become secondary. So good at surrender that you hesitate to claim authority over your daily life. And when this energy runs on a consistent basis, your future begins to reflect a life where you are appreciated for your empathy, but rarely supported by the structure that allows your gifts to flourish. A balanced Pisces in the sixth house doesn't lose its sensitivity. It learns how to hold it inside a stable container. There is a shift from drifting through life to consciously shaping it. And when you're regulated, your day feels calmer inside your body. You still listen to your intuition, but it works alongside gentle structure. You still move with sensitivity, but your energy has clear boundaries. So instead of asking, what does the moment want from me? You ask, how can I honor my intuition while guiding my life intentionally? This reframe allows flow to become creative rather than directionless. Compassion becomes nourishing rather than draining. And your intuition becomes grounded rather than overwhelming. Your nervous system learns that structure does not destroy sensitivity, it protects it. And when that belief integrates, your routines begin to reflect both inspiration and stability. With Pisces in the sixth, transformation happens through building gentle containers for your intuition, not by suppressing your sensitivity. The best way to accomplish this is first to create a soft structure for your day. So instead of rigid schedules, build flexible anchors. So, morning rituals, dedicated creative time, moments for rest and reflection. Structure becomes supportive when it feels intentional rather than restrictive. Next is to protect your energy with clear boundaries. Notice where you automatically absorb other people's needs or emotions and ask yourself, is this truly mine to carry? Energy boundaries restore clarity. Next is to translate intuition into action. When inspiration appears, take one small step toward bringing it into reality. Write the idea down. Start the project. Follow the feeling with movement. This action grounds your intuitive insight. Next is to give your compassion direction. Your empathy is powerful, but it must have focus. So choose where your care and support genuinely belong rather than offering it everywhere. Focused compassion protects your energy. And finally, return to your body when you feel overwhelmed. Sensitivity increases when you are disconnected from physical grounding. So pause and reconnect through breath work, movement, or nature. Your body anchors your intuition. When you practice these shifts consistently, they give your sensitivity a stable foundation. Your life stops drifting with emotional currents and begins reflecting the quiet power of someone who honors intuition while consciously shaping their path. A great affirmation for Pisces in the sixth house is, my intuition guides me and my structure supports me. I honor my sensitivity while creating a life that allows my gifts to flow with clarity, purpose, and balance. Let's talk about it. What did this unlock for you? Be sure to comment and let it out. And of course, be sure to hit like, hype this video, send this to your friends, and subscribe so you never miss your cosmic upgrade. And if you've been avoiding the parts of yourself that feel too messy, too heavy, or too complicated, my As Above, So Within digital journal takes you right into the shadow with compassion and clarity. These prompts help you to confront what you've been suppressing so you can finally rise above it. All of my offerings are linked in the description box below, so be sure to check them out. I appreciate you, and thanks so much for watching.